It's time for more Manifesting Original Rich-Bixch Experiences. I'm your host, Ava Beilke. Welcome back to the More Pod. It's hard to believe that summer is over, and I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it kind of is. The good news, though, is that we're going to talk about fall today, and we're going to talk about it from the astrological perspective. And this is one of my very favorite times to record the pod because whenever we do a new astrology forecast, I get to bring back my best friend and the More Pod's resident astrologer, KJ Atlas. And KJ is an astrologer of business, location, and love. And she is recently rejoined the digital nomad community, which is so fun. So she's back on the road, and I'm super excited that we're going to link up today, talk about all the astrology of fall. So with that, KJ Atlas, welcome back to the More Pod.
Hi, Ava. Thanks for having me.
Hi.
My favorite place to be, especially 4 times a year when we do our quarterly astro forecast. We had a really fun summer.
I'm so glad you're here. And we did have a really fun summer, and we actually got to link up this summer.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. I always love to do a little reflection moment because I think having these forecasts is amazing, but it's really about how we use them and how we can work with the energy and really embody some of what we talk about. So before we get into fall, I want to just do a little revisit of summer. What were some of your highlights?
Wow. This summer was a lot of fun, and I just felt like I went at it 90 miles an hour for the most part. There was an element of nostalgia, lots of friends, lots of family, lots of travel to places that I love, and domestic travel, experiencing new places in the United States. I went to the desert so many times, 3 or 4 times this summer, different places. I started some new projects that are not formulated yet, and I filmed a show in the desert, and that's just about all I can say until it comes out, but...
You filmed a show in the desert?
An episode of a show.
That is so fun.
Yes, it was fun. It was very hot and it was very fun. And it was a really good summer. And, we had Mercury retrograde in August, but it was still a really great time. It was super productive. That's when I was packing up my apartment, cleaning out everything, putting stuff in storage so I could start my nomad travels. And that's also when we got to hang out a lot.
Yeah.
So we really kind of turned that up to 11 when it came to like live music and bars and cafes and restaurants and let's go out and do all the things, which is what you do during the season that's ruled by the sun, Leo.
We really did turn that up to 11.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I do this every Leo season, and every summer I tell myself I'm not going to like overdo it. And I always overdo it. Like there's no resisting, but it really does feel like it's a little bit out of your control because it's just like everyone is turning up to 11, like that is the energy of the season.
Yeah.
So we embraced it. And yeah, I would say I had a huge Leo season. I road tripped across the country from Minneapolis to Los Angeles.
That's big.
So big. We met up in Palm Springs along the way, which was so fun. And then we had some overlap time together in Los Angeles, which was just the best. Then, like, all of a sudden, it's Virgo season, and we're trying to get our shit a little bit organized. But yeah, I remember that, when we chatted about summer initially, we said it was going to be like a little bit more chill when we looked at, the bigger picture between spring and fall.
Yeah.
Because spring was kind of crazy. Summer, although like Leo season was large, it was a lot of fun. I do feel like for the most part, aside from that Mercury retrograde, which sent my dishwasher overflowing twice, I feel like it was pretty chill.
Yeah, I do think so too. June and July. June started off really busy for me because of the Jupiter conjunction on my sun in Gemini, which was like chaos highs and lows. And then after that, I like lulled out for July pretty much. And I love a Mercury retrograde because I was born under one. So I wasn't really bothered by the retrograde of August, and I just harnessed it to like organize everything and put stuff in boxes.
Yeah. But I think like that's a perfect example of like using that energy to really do what you need to do.
Yeah, I
When you
undid my apartment. I was like taking down everything, that you build up in a place over a couple of years. And so retrograde is like you're undoing everything. So it fit.
Yeah. That totally fits. Uh, and now we're looking ahead to fall. And you
Wow.
know that the Instagrams of it all are already starting rumors and scare tactics about eclipse season and
Of
how
course.
intense it's supposed to be. So I'm glad to get your take on all of that today. When we look ahead, just sort of like at a glance, we're talking fall, September 22nd to December 21st, 2024. At the highest level, like what is the flavor of the season? What is the high level theme? What's the vibe?
Well, I think about those rides at the fair that's like a circle, and you stand up against the wall and then it speeds up and it pushes you out and you can feel like the G-force flapping your cheeks back to your ears. That that's this season, but the beginning of it. And then you trickle out into October, November, and December, just kind of floating through the ethers, figuring out where you've landed after the G force has of the spin of eclipse season has sent you flying.
I have been on that ride at the fair precisely one time. So I do know exactly what you're talking about. It's like you get pushed so far, like the skin is like flapping off your bones. You feel like you have like no control. It's just gravity, right? Because there's no
Yeah.
seatbelts. Like
No.
that is the craziest ride I think I've ever been on. But hearing that makes me a little nervous.
Because you're a fixed sign and you don't like to surrender to things. That was a
Shit.
question.
That was a question.
Yeah. Is that true? Is it because you're a fixed sign and you don't like to surrender?
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Perhaps. I'm sure it is. In true fixed sign fashion, I'm stubborn and saying it's not, but it probably is.
It's okay. It's okay. In psychotic mutable fashion, I'm like, what could possibly happen?
You're like waiting to just see like how the universe sends you flying.
Yeah, I think I thrive in that, which is probably why the nomad journey had to start now because I was getting a little too comfortable
Mm,
and I need a little bit of gravitational thrust to push me out into the world and see what happens.
yeah. And it sounds like that's kind of how we can view this time.
Yeah, at least September and October, like that tail end of September and the beginning of October, because that's eclipse season. And eclipses that we've talked about here before are these little acceleration portals. And it makes things happen faster. It makes things happen for you. It puts things into place. It eclipses things out of your life. And it's like the professional that comes in and takes care of the job faster than you can
Mm,
and puts you
hmm.
back into, we're like, here you go, ma'am. All right, now you can do this on your own. Like, we rearrange things, fix the problem. You're ready to go now.
Oh, like a chiropractor or something.
I always say eclipses are like chiropractic adjustments. Anything with the nodes, they get you
There we
locked
go.
in.
There
Perfect
we
spinal
go.
alignment.
We've been friends long enough that I'm picking up all the
Analogies.
I'm picking up the analogies, which I love so much. They're so fun. Where do we start? Do we start with the eclipses? It sounds like that's really going to kick off fall.
Yeah, because we're in it right now, even as we're speaking and
Yeah.
recording this, this is the few days leading up to the first eclipse. The first one is a full moon lunar eclipse. So we'll be able to, not where we live, but you could see it in the sky, big, massive full moon eclipse. And It's the first one on the Pisces Virgo axis that we will have through 2027. So I think this is really important to sort of kick off a new chapter. There's going to be themes related to physical health, mental health, taking charge of any sort of escapism behavior, self-sabotage, getting your life in order. And on the flip side of that, if you're in the opposite of too rigid, too structured, too in a basic routine that feels like a rut, Pisces energy can come in and help spice that up and help you get into more flow and try new things. So I think it's kind of like, what's the medicine that you need? And the eclipses will bring a polarity of either side where you can kind of find your equilibrium between, do I need more structure? Do I need to be more disciplined? Or do I need to be more in my Pisces flow and creativity?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a time to be honest with yourself about what you need. I think I need more structure and grounding, the best that I can get while traveling. It'll be different for every person. And that will linger through the rest of September, leading us up to the second eclipse of that cycle. So they usually happen about 2 weeks apart. And then we usually feel it for like a week coming in before the first one and then a week going out after. So about a month is the eclipse season. And then those 2 weeks in between are usually like the portal where all the changes happen. Like things kind of fall into place, stuff adjusts. That new moon eclipse on October 2nd will be in Libra. We've already had a lot of Libra eclipses. Last October, we had a Libra South Node eclipse. So you might look back and see what was going on last October to give you some context about what might be coming around for its second time now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times what happens is, like hypothetically, maybe something unfolded last year in October, and then maybe you get a second chance at the same story, different font. So the same thing might come in again in a different form, maybe the same form, but a different form to see, have you learned the lesson? Is there anything else you need to embody or learn from this or adjust? And if nothing happens, then you're probably good. I always say that with eclipses, like if it feels really hard, it means you need to make changes. If nothing's going on, it means you're right on track.
Oh, that's so interesting. Do these eclipses typically happen in September, October every year?
No, just because of the signs that the North and South Node are traveling in. So think about it like this. Libra season and Aries season is where we've been having eclipses the last 2 years. Aries season is typically March to April. Libra season is September to October. So that's when we're having eclipses. And so as it shifts, it actually shifts backwards. It will shift from Aries to Pisces, Libra to Virgo. Then it'll adjust a little. So it'll start to go more into September, more into March. So like next year, it'll be all of March, no April eclipses. So it slowly starts to adjust.
That makes sense. What I'm learning is there's never a hard, fast rule to when any of this happens.
There's not. There is a rule in that it is all cyclical.
Sure. Yeah. But it's hard to memorize. I think that's what my brain tries to do. I try to create the shortcuts to be like, okay, every October, we're going to have an eclipse. No, not true.
You know what's so funny? This whole thing would be so much easier if we didn't use the stupid Gregorian calendar.
Oh, fair.
I think I say that every time I get on a podcast, but it's so true. It's like we had a perfectly beautiful system for tracking time, and then they were like, let's make it harder. Literally.
Let's add another calendar.
Yeah, let's change all this. And then we have to have leap day because there's a beautiful calendar with 360 degrees, which could translate to days. But then they were like, let's have 365 days. So then that means that we have to have a leap day.
It's chaos.
It was created by a man.
That says everything you need to know. So we got the eclipses. I liked what you said about like kind of like choosing the medicine that you need and really kind of looking at like, if you do feel like this is intense, maybe there's something to reevaluate. And then if you're just kind of like flowing through it, like maybe you're just right on track.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you if there were certain, based on where the eclipses are happening, if there are certain signs that would feel this more than others.
Well, the one that is actually September 17th, that is not technically part of fall, the Pisces one will be more for Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sagittarius. The mutable signs will feel it
Okay.
more. Now, the second one on October 2nd is still hitting the cardinal signs: Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Primarily Libra and Aquarius. Primarily Libra. That's
Okay.
the sign that it's in. I think anyone with Libra in their big three has really been going through a lot of stuff related to loss over the last 16, 18 months.
Mm.
I watched a lot of Libra people in my life lose something and also purge something in order to make space for something new, whether it's a job or a divorce or even a death. Any kind of ending has opened up the floor for a new possibility. I've watched Libra risings walk away from their careers. I've seen Libra moons lose a sense of security or lose a job. Libra suns maybe lose an element of their freedom or develop an illness. Like, there's been a lot of that. And so poor Libras, once we get into next year, if you've had a hard time, it's going to get easier.
Okay.
Then it's Virgo's turn. But we all
There
get
you
our
go.
turn. That's the whole point. You know, it's like
Yeah.
everyone goes through hard stuff and everyone goes through easy, abundant periods. And it's so important because I think people are like, there's always something bad happening in astrology. I'm like, yeah, but there's always something good happening as well. It's just like, is it your time? And unfortunately, some people get hit with like 5 years of really rough transits. But that might be the hardest time in your life. And then the rest of your life might be really easy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's relative.
Yeah. I think when everything was happening on the Taurus Scorpio axis, that's when I was feeling a lot because I have Taurus rising, Taurus moon.
Yeah, that would have been really hard for your chart.
Yeah, it was. So I feel like I can kind of understand like how a Libra might feel right now
Yeah.
just based on some of that. But after those couple years of the transit moving through, it'll be different.
Feeling a lot better, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember when I was having eclipses on my moon in Cancer and then Pluto was opposite of that. I did not know if I was going to make it. Like, sometimes I thought my chest was going to combust from like the stress and the pain.
Oh,
And looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh. That was 2018, 2019. I was like, I have so much love for her. So
yeah.
Ava and I both know what it's like. And we'll all probably have another hard transit again because that's just the way that it works.
Yeah. But I do think having the awareness of astrology and understanding how this really does influence our daily lives is so helpful because like you can look back and be like, wow, like I wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
Like this was something that's charted and happening and like showing indications of all the things it should. And it just like, it's almost comforting in a way to know that like, you know, you can kind of explain some of it if that's like what your mind needs. Cause I know
Yeah.
a lot of time I like to like have an explanation and astrology helps me do that. So
I'm the same way too. It's like, yeah, it's hard, but I'm like, okay, but what is the quality of the hard? Do I need to be more disciplined and structured? Do I need to let go of this thing that I'm just still trying to hold on to? Do I need to
yeah.
start traveling again? You know, like it helps you be more conscious in your self inquiry about what is my free will in this and what can I do
Mm,
to make it better.
that's right. That free will and that taking action.
Yeah, that's a part of it too. I think astrology can get really lazy, you know, where we're like, this is all happening to me, and sorry, that's just the way I am because of my chart, and I don't like
Hmm.
that guy because he's an Aquarius moon. It's like,
But facts though.
no, but for real, like we have to be more conscious about how we use it instead of just being lazy with it, you know?
I hear you. Absolutely. So eclipse season.
If you are at least 18 years old, you have already gone through eclipses of every sign.
Mm,
And I'm saying that to remind you that it's nothing that you haven't gone through. You're going to be fine. Like, these aren't these like life changing, life altering, once in a lifetime transits. Like, They just happen twice a year. So if you're 30 years old, you've lived through 60 of these.
Wow. When you do the math, that's.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure everyone who listens to your podcast is probably around 30 years old or at least 30. And so we're all good. We're all fine.
Yeah, we're 30 and flirty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good perspective. Anything else we need to know about this series of eclipses or?
Everything that comes up during that time is probably going to crystallize into full clarity by the full moon on October 17th. This is that full circle moment for the year. It's our full moon in Aries, and the new year in March starts with Aries season. And so that's always a time where I'm like, really ramp up now. Like, start your intentions, make your plans, dive head first. And so this is a good time to really check in on what have I done for the first half of the year, the real year, not this fake thing. So from March to September is that time where we pause and check in. How's it going? What have we done? What do we need to do to make sure this stuff's getting done, that we're pursuing our goals, and we're taking action? So this is really good clarity around that. I feel like this is a really special day that will make everything seem full circle, come to light. I was also looking at the dates around October 7th and 8th. I was like, these are really good days with a lot of momentum. Like, it's right after the new moon. There's a lot of good transits going on around these days. I think it's a Sagittarius moon. Like, it's just, this seems nice. It is a Sagittarius moon. Oh, and then we have a Venus trine, a Mercury trine. Yeah, October 7th is a day that I like. I think this is favorable. There's interesting things going on. Maybe a gaze into the future clarity that you're going to get.
Okay.
It's very investigative. It's also very social and communicative. October 7th. I like it.
Save the date.
Yeah, but that brings us to that full moon. And then we're already in the shadow of our Mars retrograde on October 4th. Mars retrograde, when you consider the shadow period, which is like the period leading up to it where we're like entering the corridor, it's like we've already crossed the degrees where Mars is going to do its retrograde once you move into the shadow.
Okay.
They're so long. They're so long. Like, I'm looking at this, like, the shadow goes from October 4th of 2024 to May 2nd of 2025.
No way.
Yeah.
That's the shadow only.
So when people get so uptight about Mercury retrograde, I'm like, just wait for Mars.
Oh. Okay. What are the kind of traits of the Mars retrograde?
Mars rules all of our animal prowess. Our instincts, our hustle, the things that are really applauded in our culture, you know, the grind, wake up at 5 a.m., go to the gym, fast, get your work done, be a good finance bro. All of those are Mars. And we need Mars, just like we need every planet, but I think we're very oversteeped in Mars, in the US at least, where we tend to burn out and exhaust ourselves. Mars is everything animalistic. You know, it's like we need to use a bathroom, we need to eat. Oh, that person's hot. Our libido is raging. All those things are Mars-centric. And then when Mars retrogrades, all those things go, meow, they slump. And when we have a Mars slump, it's really hard as entrepreneurs, as employees, to keep up the regular pace that we're used to. And so the ancients would have said, so don't keep up your regular pace. Try to temper it down. But the shadow isn't so much a time when you want to temper it down, but you might start noticing and making plans. And so that's what I think a big overarching piece of this season of fall is, to plan for a major winter slowdown. So basically, let September and October thrust you into the wind, and then from there, use that energy, whether it's adrenaline, whatever it is, to help you get ready for what could be a long, slow, less motivation winter.
That's good foresight.
Like, what do you need to do? Think about it.
Yeah.
If you're like, okay, if I'm going to feel really lazy in December, January, February, what do I need to do in October, November to prepare so that I have enough income? What do I need to do to prepare maybe your house, to make plans for travel? It can really be anything. But get it done now, or make the plans now. Make the outlines. Take care of it before rather than later.
Okay.
That's kind of the mood for, especially because what I love about October and November is we have a lot of Mars energy in general. Like our October 17th full moon is ruled by Mars. It's an Aries moon. And then our new moon in Scorpio on November 1st is also ruled by Mars because it's Scorpio. Scorpio and Aries are planets ruled by Mars. Signs. Sorry, they're not planets. They're ruled by the planet Mars. And with that, I do think we'll have a lot more of that push. Now, Mars is in Cancer, which is kind of like mama bear energy. It can be really defensive. So you might notice how people are a little more prickly, crabby, mama bear, protective. People can get really defensive with Mars in Cancer. Can kind of feel like everyone's on edge a little bit, maybe a little more closed off, a little more protective. I would say it's kind of a hard season to open your heart and freely fall in love because everyone's kind of guarded and protected, kind of like in this knowing that the slowdown is coming. And once, I would say that point from October 7th through, let's say, November 7th, that's your month. That's your month to really Mars, really hustle, get it out, put it out there in the world. Because then we have a full moon in Taurus, which is more about, this is when you hide the acorns for the winter. This is like when you prepare your resources. Taurus is very, very much into resources. You know this, you're a double Taurus. It's like, what do I need to feel safe and secure and comfortable?
Yeah. Lots of resources.
And so we take care of that.
Yeah.
Exactly. On November 15th, the full moon. And from that point on, we're kind of moving into these retrograde periods. So with those dates, from November 15th onward, we start to slow down a little bit. And that's a good time anyway with the holidays and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the calendars collide for a slowdown.
They do. I was thinking overarching about how fall is Libra, Scorpio, and Sag.
Yep.
Those are the 3 seasons that make up fall in the Northern Hemisphere. And so Libra is like the exciting part of fall, where it's like, let's make cinnamon bread and watch Gilmore Girls and be fall. Like, it's fall. It's aesthetic. It's pretty. It's girly. Everyone's going to the pumpkin patch and looking at the fall leaves. And then Scorpio happens. And then all those pretty fall leaves die.
Yes.
And then it gets cold. And then everything's a little spooky. And it's like, it's no longer Christian Girl Autumn. It's kind of spooky. It's kind of goth. And it's also like, I need to hustle and get stuff together before winter comes. That's the point of Scorpio. That's why we have a Mars-ruled season this time of year. Because it's like, you might need to chop another bale of wood. We don't do that now. But
yeah.
I'm the first generation to not do that. I grew up doing that. So when November comes around, you got to go out, and you might have to stay out a little later and chop an extra several pounds of wood so that you can stoke the heater for the winter. Now we just go to TJ Maxx and buy more blankets.
I know. That's true. I always, you know how I feel about Scorpio season. That's like my depression season.
It is mine too, because it's my 12th house season, because I'm a Sagittarius rising. So like whatever season is the season right before your rising sign is your inward, moody, sad girl season. And mine happens to be Scorpio. So you're a Taurus rising, so yours would be like Aries season.
Yeah. Like I don't even, what is Aries season?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
But Scorpio kind of does that to everyone. I think it's the one that reminds us that everything is finite. And those beautiful fall leaves turn into compost, and it's wet and ugly and
dark and moody. Emo.
But I love Halloween season.
See, that would really save it for me, but I don't love Halloween season,
Yeah. I loved it as a child. It's my favorite. When we started to get catalogs of like the costumes, I would like fantasize about having a house to like decorate and like really
Yeah.
go all in on Halloween.
Like the spider webs from the
Mhm.
trees.
Yeah, and like the vintage pumpkins. I loved Halloween Town. I loved all of it. It used to be my favorite holiday. I mean, it's so whimsical as a child, especially a little emo child like I was. It was just the best time. But then I think after Halloween is when it gets sad because then it's November, and you're not
Yeah.
look. It's not like the it's not pumpkin season anymore.
Even the pumpkins die. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Rotting pumpkin, and then everyone's like fighting over televisions on Black Friday.
Which is kind of funny.
It
I'm like,
is.
do people still do that? I remember some Black Fridays that were like pretty epic,
Yeah,
but I don't know. I feel like even that's been kind of ruined at this point.
it totally is. All of it. Yeah. But yeah, I think this year, let's use our Scorpio season, which is going to be October 21st through November 20th. I don't know those exact dates. I should have looked those up. But roughly, give or take, that's always Scorpio season. So your question earlier, Ava, I think when we were sidebarring, you asked me, is it all, or you said, when we were recording, yeah, you're like, oh, is it always going to be October, September when the eclipses happen?
Yeah,
No, but Scorpio will always be October, November.
got it.
The dates just
Scorpio.
change a little bit. The sun goes into
Yeah.
Scorpio on the 22nd of October. It's
Okay.
there until sun enters Sagittarius on the 21st of November.
Okay. So then,
And then Sag, that's a weird season because it's fire season. It's ruled by Jupiter. It's very happy, exuberant, overflowing with joy and fun. And I'm a Sagittarius rising. So if you look at me right now, I'm wearing red nails with a purple shirt and pink blazer.
mhm.
Sagittarius does that. Sagittarius is the only sign that has the audacity to mix green and red for 2 months on end. It's the sign that says, yeah, have another cocktail at the Christmas party, have another Christmas party, eat cookies for breakfast. And then before you know it, you're in this Sagittarius indulgence by the time Christmas hits, and you're like, eh. I feel like a walking pound of sugary dough. And if I hear all I want for Christmas one more time, I might hurt a small animal. You know, that's the energy. But I think of Sagittarius as a Jupiter ruled fire sign, almost as the underlying sarcasm around the season.
Interesting.
I do think there's an underlying sarcasm to the season. Like no one is thinking that red and green look good together. No one is thinking that the songs are actually good. We're all just doing it out of nostalgia.
Yeah.
And because we're like so depressed from the darkness, it's like anything goes. It's like the point of sadness or anger where you just start cackling. That's Sagittarius. Where you
It's
zoom
like the
out.
reaction to, yeah.
It's comical.
It's overcorrection for a sad Scorpio season.
It's extreme. Yes. And that's why we celebrate and party and eat and drink and hang out with people. And it's an introvert's hell. But I do enjoy it. I do enjoy a tacky sweater party and, you know, the cooking element, and that's fun. This one's going to be weird because we're moving into the Mercury retrograde towards the end of that. So if Sagittarius season starts on the 21st, Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius starts the 25th,
Oh,
which is
of
fun.
November. Of November. Okay.
And we're having Thanksgiving late this year, so people who do celebrate Thanksgiving, that should be a fun one. Under Mercury retrograde in an election year. Yeah, I'm going to be in Mexico by that point. There's no family Thanksgivings happening.
That's very smart and savvy of you.
Intentional.
Wow. I feel like, well, I love Sag. Like for me, that's a lot of fun. I always think of, like, for me, Miley Cyrus is the poster child for Sagittarius.
Yeah.
You know, like if you need a visual other than you, of course, I feel like Miley is a good one. It's like, oh yeah, like I get it. But as you're explaining like how Christmas overlaps with that, I was thinking like, wow, we could literally not have Christmas in April, or like it
No.
would just never happen. You know
Mm-mm.
what I mean? I feel like you unlock something for me there where it's like this could only be like a Sag, and I know it crosses over to Capricorn soon after, but like this could really only be like a Sag season.
Yeah. You know what's so funny that I've noticed is, so the Christmas season starts right around Thanksgiving, and
Hmm.
that's when Sagittarius season begins. And
Hmm.
Thanksgiving is an overly indulgent holiday.
Yeah.
That's, the branding of Thanksgiving is very how do we describe that? Like
Abundant.
that wasn't the direction I was going in. I was thinking more of like the toxic lightness, toxic positivity of Thanksgiving, where we're just
Oh,
like, ha, cornucopia. Ha, ha, ha. I'm like, yeah, we're not
yeah.
really talking about the origins of this.
Right. It's had a few
There's
rebrands.
an underbelly, a big one.
Hmm.
And then there's the
Hmm.
underbelly of Black Friday. And then we're kind of like, all this like capitalism and overconsumption. And don't get me wrong, I do love a Black Friday sale, but you
Hmm.
don't need everything that everyone's telling you that you need at these Black
That's
Friday
fair.
sales. So it's a good chance to be like, oh, there's one thing I really want to purchase. Like, do it on Black Friday. But do you really need to be in the mall at 5 o'clock on Thanksgiving Day fighting people for a new Dyson gadget? Maybe you do. I'm not going to judge.
I was about to be like, nope. And you're like, maybe you do. And I'm like, okay, yep, maybe you do. That's fair. That's fair. It's just a weird time.
Yeah.
I love to overindulge though. Like
Yeah.
that's really fun for
Like
me.
Sagittarius season requires stretchy pants.
Yeah. Love that.
That's why we wear oversized sweaters, and I think that's why when the actual holiday of Christmas rolls around, we're also burnt out because it's Capricorn season and then it's kind of serious. And the
Mm,
mood always shifts. Right around the solstice, the mood shifts. And I'm like, oh, this is like, I'm not religious, but it's kind of got that actual like Christian holiness to it. The actual days of Christmas, where it's very like,
hmm.
you're in your home and there's a fire going, and it's very demure, Ava,
It's very demure. It's very
compared
mindful.
to Sagittarius season, which is brat.
Oh yeah.
Buddy the Elf is so brat. And Cap season is not that. And that's when we get like the old Charles Dickens Christmas. And then that's
Hmm.
those last few days before Christmas ends. And then we're in that weird lull between Christmas and New Year's that's like, I don't know what to do with myself because Capricorn wants me to be productive.
Yeah.
It's just funny. I think I'm saying this because they all kind of like, all the seasons build off of one another.
They really do. And I feel like it's like a flip flop. It's like if we're going to be really buttoned up in Virgo, then we're going to be a little loosey goosey in Libra. And then if we're going to be a
Yeah.
little loosey goosey in Libra, we're going to be a little serious in Scorpio. And if we're going to be serious in Scorpio, then we're going to be really fucking fun in Sag.
It's like the generational swap of like, your parents are like super hippie and then you're like a Republican finance guy and then you have a kid who's like a loosey hippie girl with a nose ring, and then it just like alternates the generations because you're like, I don't want to be like my predecessor.
Yeah. Yes.
The signs are the same.
At least we kind of know what's coming next, you know?
Yeah.
We can move from brat to demure, back to brat,
Yeah.
back to demure.
Libra is very demure. Christian Girl Autumn is very demure.
I don't know her.
I like to pretend.
To know her.
Hmm. I don't fit the demo, but I could for a day.
Just one day.
Yeah, I like to have one fall day a year where it's like that's my day, and I do the baking and wear a burnt orange shirt. It's like a festival. It's like a ritual. So like
Hmm.
have your fall ritual and enjoy it, because the whole all of this astrology came down to, in my heritage, the pagans and the Nordics just wanting to party. And so tracking all these transits, those are opportunities for celebration.
Hmm.
So create custom celebrations for any of these astrological events. You want to get weird under the eclipse? Have an eclipse party.
Mm.
Don't let anyone drive home after consuming intoxicating substances because it is eclipse energy.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
like have rituals, have parties around these things as much as possible.
Okay. So I feel like we just chatted about all the seasons and I'm trying to keep track of things. So
The only thing that I realize that we haven't talked about that's super important, well, two things, is the fact that all of the full moons coming up are supermoons, which it just means that the moon is closer to Earth, so it looks really big. And in astrology, everything is done from the perspective of Earth and what it looks like to us. So I say when it's really big in our hearts and energy.
yeah. So that could mean that we might feel the supermoons more.
Yeah, I think we already know that a full moon is a polarity. The sun is in one sign, the moon is in this opposite sign. And so it shows us the distance between where we are and where we want to be. And sometimes that distance is non-existent and we are where we want to be, and that's a celebration. And sometimes it's very far off and it's very emotional and we're realizing where we aren't exactly where we want to be. We're not caught up, things aren't flowing, and that is the call to make a change. And so these full moons that are super moons can bring that intensity even stronger. So they can be more emotional. They can be more indulgent. I would say, the full moon is almost like when you're ovulating and you're like, I want to go party and I want to go talk to everyone.
Yeah.
It can be like that on steroids. And then you're like, yeah, I really want to go out and be in the world. To the extreme. The introverts will love the opportunity to go out and play. And I do think we'll feel it more. They'll be more potent. The deliveries of things we may have been waiting on that come around at the full moons will be more obvious. We won't have to sit and interpret symbols. It'll be like, well, there it is, right in front of me. Thank you for the literal nature of this blessing.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah. I do think these full moons are going to feel more emotional, but I think it will be, they'll be more change inducing. So if you're ready for a change, they'll be helpful for that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is the Mercury and Mars retrograde that overlap with each other.
Okay.
This doesn't happen often. I mean, Mars retrograde only happens every 2 years. The last one was November, December, January of 2022. So 2022 into 2023. And then we had one in fall of 2020. And that was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
This one is going to be it's going to go between two signs from Leo to Cancer. These are interesting signs for Mars to be in because, like I said, with Mars and Cancer, it's very defensive, it's mama bear aggressive, it's protective. And then Mars and Leo is I'm the main character. And if that is denied in some way to someone who really needs that validation, that desire can turn into, it can flip the suppressed anger and frustration outward.
Oh.
Especially once the Mars retrograde ends. The last time that we had Mars retrograde end, the big one in 2020, was right around the January 6th date.
Ooh, I don't like to hear that.
Yeah, so think of that as an example of how Mars retrograde can kind of hammer down our frustrations and anger and sort of suppress them and keep things at bay. And then when the retrograde ends, it's like whoosh forward and all of that comes out to the surface. So I say, while the Mars retrograde might be a pain in the butt for us girl bosses and people trying to push things forward, it just means give yourself more time and try to rest more. Try not to do any kind of major big launches between December 6th and February 23rd.
Okay.
And that's a big time. So you might still have to do that, and that's okay. I'm giving you permission to do that. It's okay to do it, but just give yourself extra lead time. If you want to launch something and then you're giving yourself 3 weeks to market it, don't do that. That's not a good idea anyway, but give yourself double the time. We're going to start feeling that a little sooner than December 6th, but that's when it begins. like I said, October 4th is when the shadow starts. So we'll slowly start the ramp up.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll notice a little bit of it. I think we'll start to notice more of it when Mercury retrograde begins. That cycle is in Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to go from November 25th through December 15th. So it'll be during Thanksgiving, Black Friday. It might not be a good idea to actually buy gadgets and technology as a big purchase because of the Mercury retrograde. I don't recommend buying technology during a Mercury retrograde, especially cars.
That's a great point. No Christmas cars.
No Christmas cars. Buy them earlier if you're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And get the warranty. Get the extended warranty if you're like adamant on it. Just, that's my word of advice. Apple Care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. So maybe the holiday gifts this year look different.
Yeah, I think so.
No technology, no cars.
I recommend that everyone get on underconsumption TikTok, which is really fun because people will show you how to repurpose things and how to make things. And I think that's really cool for the holidays is like what kind of stuff, and I'm not talking about kitschy crafts, like what kind of stuff can actually be like handmade and very beautiful gifts. Like homemade vanilla extract. Anyone can do it. Doesn't require the ability to cook. It's so elegant. It's so beautiful. That's a great gift. I think if you start it now, you'll be fine. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. You know, get your beautiful glass bottles, get your vanilla, get your Everclear. And like you have vanilla extract. That's just an example.
That's so fancy of you.
But get creative.
I thought you were going to say candles. And so when you said vanilla extract, I was delighted. I was like, wow, that's so much better than I was imagining.
Yeah, it can get so good. A lot of people did the, I said, if you start making limoncello on the new moon in August, I didn't do it because I ended up moving. Then you would have a full bottle of it by the next new moon, which is, it just happened. So all those people who started making limoncello, your limoncello is probably ready. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks. So that's something else that makes a really good gift. And it can be so beautiful.
Drink it up. Mm-hmm. I really want someone to make vanilla, though. That sounds so cute.
I think maybe I will do that. Maybe I'll do that when I get to North Carolina and leave it for my mom and grandma to take care of, to disperse.
You'll get it started. They'll get it finished.
Yeah.
I like that. Are there any other big moments this fall that we need to be aware of?
Pluto is actually going to go back into Aquarius for like the final time. So
like it's going to stay there this time?
Yeah. So it's retrograded back to Capricorn, but November 19th, it goes back to Aquarius. It's going to be there for the next foreseeable future. Like we're talking like 2040s.
I'm so excited about that.
I'm going to have so many more wrinkles by then. Like I can't wait to see how life is going to be by 2042 when Pluto starts moving into Pisces. That's so wild to think about, but.
So Pluto's finally going to be in Aquarius. I think that's going to be a good thing.
I think we really need it as a people.
Yeah.
I think the crypto industry really needs it too.
You have some investments?
Yeah.
Wait for him to come back around.
Yeah.
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 I feel like we've been just on this weird teetering of like remote work, still in the office, come back to office. Like I feel like there's a lot of weird stuff that's happened work-wise, like between Pluto, like kind of flipping back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius. It's like, can we just fucking move forward?
I agree. Yeah. It's like this kind of like the old school stuff is still really clenching its teeth, trying to remain. And then the new stuff is like, please, but then there's complications with it, you know? Like some of those might even be, I think how like some technology isn't really ready yet. And like AI, like we're not really sure how we're going to use it. And we're kind of, some people are freaked out. Some people are really impressed.
Yeah.
I stay impressed with ChatGPT. But I also know that it's bad for the planet because it requires so much energy, you know, same with crypto. So there's this kind of learning curve that I think we'll find in the next couple of years with our footing with these Aquarian ideals. So it's going to feel like a weird little baby fawn for a while we get used to it. Trying to walk on wet legs.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how I remember my grandma, who worked in banking her whole life, when they told them that everyone was going to have plastic cards to access their money. And everyone was like, this is so insane. Who's going to carry around a plastic card?
Everyone.
Yeah. And now we have metal cards to show people that we are elite.
Status.
But it's the point that everything changes and we have to get used to it and open to it.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So if we kind of like recap Libra, Scorpio, Sag. Libra season, it sounds like eclipse, some big kind of jolts maybe at the forefront, a little bit more flow afterwards. We have that October 7th date. That sounds like something to look forward to.
November 7th. But I love that you brought up, or you said October 7th, right?
Oh, yeah.
Is it October? What did you say? My brain just did a flip.
October 7th.
Okay, it is October 7th, but I was thinking about November 7th because that's the Eagles Gate portal.
Ooh, okay.
Because we all know about Lions Gate.
Yeah.
Because it's trendy and it's 8/8. But Eagles Gate portal happens when the sun is at the middle point of Scorpio.
Okay.
And that one's fun because it has everything to do with like the dead holidays. Samhain, Dia de los Muertos. This is the time to honor our fallen ancestors, anything from the past. I like to work with anything related to like the fermentation process around this time.
Okay.
Maybe you make homemade yogurt, homemade kimchi. Maybe you're just composting, any kind of clearing out, culling, building altars to honor your ancestors. I always say we don't really do this in the West, but when I lived in Mexico, it's so interesting to see how someone can be dead for 15, 20, 30 years and their ancestors still come by and take care of the grave or like create altars for them. And I think that's so cool. There's this theory that spirits need our energy in order to be able to send signs and, to kind of do the things that we expect spirits to do on the other side. And so they need our energy. So we needed to set out their favorite flowers or their favorite, when my granddad died, we like poured out a Miller Lite because he drank a lot of Miller Lights when I was a child. So like doing these things to like honor your ancestors and keep their memory alive instead of just like trying to move through the grief process and forget.
Okay. So that's Eagles Gate.
Yeah. And that whole
November 7th.
time around early November, because that Scorpio eclipse, and I'm actually hosting a retreat in the desert related to all of those things because this new moon happened to fall on the Day of the Dead and Samhain. And so it's all coming together at this point where it's kind of like this opportunity. The Scorpio energy is all about renewal, is this chance to sort of be reborn. So I'm excited about that portal at the beginning of November that kind of gives us while we're in the season of death, it's like, and there's an opportunity for rebirth. What do you want it to be?
Yeah, they do go hand in hand. And I feel like that's a good reminder because the United States isn't really good about death.
No, we're really bad.
We're really bad. So maybe that will be the silver lining of Scorpio season for some, getting into that. We also have to get all of our shit done before we kind of get to that midpoint.
Totally. And then we get into Sag, and Sag is also like a wild horse. Like you're not getting a lot of stuff done. Like you might have good ideas and you might be like running your mouth like you have a lot of good ideas. Like I said, I'm guilty of this, Sagittarius, but it is a season of just like being excited about things. And so that excitement can kind of dart in a lot of directions. And so if you can channel it really well, it could be productive. But it is a Mercury retrograde. So maybe it'll be good for us retrograde folks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like my other big takeaway from that was like holiday season might be a little sticky communication wise, family. Maybe you skip Thanksgiving altogether.
Yeah.
Like I do. And then just plan to like not get as much stuff done. Right? Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of the quality of going into the end of fall, it sounds like.
There's actually a really good book for this that I'm thinking of that would be so good for this season. It's called Wintering.
I love that book.
Yes. So this, by Catherine May, this is a good one for this because it's talking about rest and retreat in difficult times, and Mars retrograde might be a difficult time. And so it reminds us that if we try to force the no rest, you're going to get sick, you're going to feel exhausted, things aren't going to work, and it's not going to live up to the vision that you had. So instead of trying to defy the odds, say, okay, we're going to take this down to 50% speed, get enough sleep, and take our vitamins, and we're going to be well while we're moving at a slower pace, and the job's still going to get done. It just might take a little longer. Medicinal mushrooms this season, I'm telling you.
For Sag season.
Not the sparkly brain ones. I mean, you can do that. That's great too. But I'm literally talking about, your turkey tail, lion's manes, cordyceps. When I take those religiously, I never ever get sick. And I think Mars retrograde seasons are the ones where we're like, energy's low. Our immune system is not being the warrior. So do the extra things to support your immune system.
Immunity mushrooms.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's great intel. I want to get into our new moons for manifesting. Okay, so new moons, maybe inside and outside of eclipse season. So what's the rundown for manifesting during these new moons? What are their themes and when are they happening so we can really get our Rich-Bixch fall down?
Yeah. The first new moon is at 10 degrees Libra, and it's the South Node solar eclipse.
Okay.
There's a lot of people who say that you should not do magic or rituals or any kind of manifestation during eclipse season. My teacher, Jan Spiller, said that new moons during an eclipse were like superpowered new moons so that you can set intentions and should set goals. Now, the thing about it is with the eclipses, there's a layer to it where divine intervention and fate plays a bigger role than you might think. So if you're like, these are all the things that I want, that's great, but also think about what you might need realistically. And be really careful about your word choice. I always say, write your eclipses write your intentions if they've already happened. Write 10 of them within a similar topic. Libra topic is usually about relationships. It's usually about finding balance, cultivating a sense of peace and harmony in your life. And it can even be about aesthetics and like making your home more beautiful, putting more intention behind a capsule wardrobe that you love. Like it can be surface level and it can be very deep. That's the beautiful thing about the air sign polarity there. So yes, you can still set intentions under the South Node eclipse. Keep in mind that sometimes the things that you will set into motion, this is like a planting of a seed. It will probably take 6 months to develop and it will happen on its own. And in order for some of those things to come true, you might lose some things. So think about it and be careful about what it is that you really want. And think about how that phrase, your new life's going to cost you the old one. Eclipses are like that. You're like, oh, so that's what you want? Okay, well, that man's going to be out of your life. That job is going to be out of your life. And it's time for you to leave. Like, it could be like a moldavite crystal where it shakes everything up. So just be ready for that. If that
the fine print
is what you want.
you just gave us the fine print.
Yes.
The stipulations. Okay. I love that.
And then those will come together around April 12th, 2025.
Okay.
In my Grove Almanac, at the end, I always write what it tastes like, what it smells like, and what it sounds like. This one tastes like pate. Smells like ammonia. It sounds like a fan humming in the background. I know that would drive you nuts, the fan humming in the background.
Oh, God. I can't do pate either.
That doesn't surprise me.
I don't like this.
You're going to be fine. It's not going to affect your chart.
Okay.
Then our next new moon is November 1st.
Okay.
That's the one in Scorpio, around the Day of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for this one. I think this will be really helpful, very supportive. This new moon actually forms what we call a grand water trine. So it connects 3 placements in all water signs. So the new moon itself, Mars in Cancer, Neptune in Pisces. They're all connected. These are going to be, this is going to be really beautiful, I think, where there's an element of whimsy, an element of spirituality, like connect to your guides, connect to your ancestors, do the woo-woo stuff around this eclipse. Not eclipse, it's just a new moon. There's no eclipse energy here. But I think this will be really supportive. It's going to help you get really in touch with your intuition, your more sensitive side. You know, tap into the more mystical side of yourself at this one. This will come about, the results will come about May 12th, 2025.
Okay.
I like the sensual notes for this one. Tastes like caramelized onions, smells like amaretto, sounds like an antique organ.
It's better.
It's giving dark bar. I'm into it. I think it'll be good.
I can do that. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what's the third one?
Well, what's funny is I was looking ahead and I was like, there's not a third one for this season because it is actually December 30th. And that's winter season. So there's only 2 opportunities to really do new moon manifesting this year. And I would say be more intentional, not cautious, but mindful of the October 2nd one, and then go all in on the November 1st one.
Okay. See, this is important to know.
It is. Yeah. And then December 30th, we have a new moon in Sagittarius, but we'll talk about that on our winter show.
Yeah.
I like this season. I think it'll be really good. I'm holding on to the sound of the antique organ. I love vampire culture. I love vampires. That's my favorite mystical creature. And so anything that reminds me of vampires, like my teeth, makes me really happy.
Funny. Oh, you're like, they're distant relatives.
Yeah.
Vampires are to you what aliens are to me.
That's a good point.
Okay, so it doesn't sound quite as crazy as I was anticipating, in a good way.
It never really is, you know?
I know. That ride at the fair, though.
It's still designed for pleasure, Ava. People still do it for fun.
It is fun. It is fun. You just have no control.
And that's why eclipses are a lot like it.
Well, I can't wait to see what comes of the eclipse season.
As a passenger princess, through and through, literally and metaphorically, I love it.
Like, you're like, this is the best.
Take me there, Daddy North Node. I don't want to do the directions and drive. I'm going to watch the scenery as we go on the way.
Absolutely.
So we're going to make vanilla extract.
We're going to make vanilla extract. We are going to not buy cars as Christmas presents.
Yeah.
We're going to just like let it loose a little bit.
Don't put the pressure. Don't put pressure on yourself. Like, you don't have to bring an immaculate homemade dish to a gathering. Go to Trader Joe's and get those little cheesecake things and put them on a serving platter, and no one's going to know. I won't tell.
Perfect.
It's a pressure light season. Just get in the passenger seat. Take a ride, sweetie.
I'll practice my passenger princess.
Good exercise.
Is there anything else that you want to share? Do you have anything coming up? Anything else we need to know to close out fall, KJ?
I'm going to bring out a fun little group program.
Ooh.
I've never really done a group. It's like a workshop, but it's extended.
Okay.
So follow me on my Instagram for the details, because that's coming soon.
All right. I'll link that in the show notes.
And the Grove is about to be discounted again because it is halfway through the year. So if you still haven't gotten it, like, what are you waiting for? But now it's about to be discounted because we are halfway through the year and we're starting to work on next year's.
Okay, I was just going to ask you. So the Grove Almanac, that's the calendar plug-in, and that's where you get all the daily astrology sounds like, tastes like, all the good things. You can know when a day is going to give pate and ammonia. I mean, like, very crucial details. I have it in my calendar. I love it. I was going to ask you, I was like, are you going to do it again for next year?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you are.
It's here to stay.
I love that. It's a legacy product of KJ Atlas.
It'll be even better this coming year.
So, group thing coming soon. We'll follow you on Instagram.
Yes.
The Grove Almanac, for anyone who doesn't have it yet, is going to be discounted. Any parting words of wisdom?
Don't forget to look up.
That's right. Don't forget to look up. Look at the moon, bitch. Touch some grass and look at the moon.
Put them vanilla beans in some Everclear and set it and forget it.
Oh, this has been so much fun.
So much fun. I love you, Ava. I love the More Pod.
I love you. Thanks. The More Pod loves you. I love you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And we'll be back again for Rich-Bixch Winter.
Yes, we will.
Listen to the More Pod every Wednesday as I share the things that make me more me and discover a thing or two to make you more you.